We are live. Hey everyone, thanks for coming again. Going to be talking about Node.js today, specifically the community committee. So we can go ahead and get started. So quick reminder, if everyone could add themselves to the agenda, the present list, everyone who's in the Zoom could add themselves to the present list, that would be swell. I just put it in the Zoom chat. So to get started, let's kick things off with initiative updates. Any updates from initiatives?
I never know the answer to this question. Does the AMAs that I'm working with people on in the Collab Summit count as initiatives, or are they something else?
So that's not textbook initiative, but I think it's very valuable for us to hear that. And I would, we also do updates from the OpenJS Foundation side of things with Joe, who's the ComCon person representative to that. So yeah, I'm more than happy to have you help update with those.
Okay, so I guess the things that I'm involved in, the Collab Summit, we are, we've got a lot more submissions than we did last time. So thanks everybody for sharing that CFP. I really appreciate it. And if you see places to put it, please continue to do that. We are doing 2 tracks just to kind of give you a reminder. The idea is that for the community corner track, which will run parallel to the conference, we're going to do more workshop style talks. And then for the Collab Summit itself, we will do more collaborative style conversations around particular topics. I talked to Christian this week, and I think that we are going to go ahead and do away with Code and Learn for this year. There just isn't enough interest, and it's a ton of work for everybody to put it on. So I think we're going to use that space to do more Collab Summit stuff.
Could you define enough interest?
He had like 1 project respond to his asking people.
Okay, so it's not necessarily lack of interest from the ecosystem, but more lack of availability or ability to run it from the.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure.
No, I'm sure there's a ton of interest from the people who would participate. That's not the issue. The issue is we just don't have enough interest to run it. So that's kind of where we're at the moment with that.
Can I just ask? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
What about Node, though? I mean, Node just has happened every other time. Is the Node Code and Learn not happening?
Yeah, there's not interest from Node people to run it. That's.
Okay.
If you'd like to run it, we're happy to have you pull stuff in. Christian has done a lot of outreach work and just didn't get the responses back that he needed to put something together, is what it comes down to.
Okay, interesting.
So we figure we'll give it a rest this year. Maybe there'll be more interest next year, and we can go from there. And in the meantime, people seem somewhat excited about having that half day to work on more collaboration things. So I think that's what we're going to do for the moment. And then, sorry, any other questions on that before I move on to my next topic? Okay, so we are also, Rachel and I are running the Ask Me Anythings. They have been wildly successful. I have them booked out, I think, to next October with topics. So we're doing them once a month. We're trying to do them mid-month. And the next one is actually ComCom. So that should be really interesting. We've got some good questions in from the audience. We've had good participation. It's been a good conversation. So I'm really excited about those. If anybody wants links or anything like that, please just don't hesitate to ask. And then I guess the other thing that I have been involved in that I don't see anybody from, but if I'm missing you, please speak up, is the mentorship committee. We have been working on figuring out how to go into the next cohort. So looking at, do we want requirements? Do we not want requirements? Kind of figuring out what we want that cohort to look like. So that's what we're working on for that. And I think that's all my updates.
Nice, thank you. And also thank you for the mentorship updates. It's greatly appreciated on top of everything else.
Yeah, good. I'm glad.
Cool. Any additional updates? Joe, do you have anything? Foundation, Brian?
Yeah, and Eva, let me just say, if you can drop any notes into what you shared a bunch of stuff there. I didn't get to really capture a lot of the points, so if you can maybe add a couple of notes in the doc, that would be awesome.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. Great. Yeah, let's see. From the CPC, as usual, there's a lot going on. We've had a couple of projects be announced as going into the incubation period, NVM and the AMP project. And there's lots of activity in the whole onboarding process. We've had a few board approvals recently in terms of the code of conduct that we're working through, like the whole process and everything. Excuse me, as well as the travel fund moving to the OpenJS Foundation, and additionally IP policy and trademark and style guide kind of related stuff. I think there's progress there as well. I'm trying to think of what else. Brian, Tierney, what else am I missing? Anything important to highlight?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of anything either. I think you got it all.
Okay, good. We have weekly meetings, so I always feel like there's so much going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those are the highlights.
Cool. Any other kind of questions or thoughts on that? Cool. Hold on, sorry. Let's see here, too many things open. Moderation. I want to do just a quick update, make sure I have everything captured. There's been nothing, oh no, we received a spam email from to report at Node.js since the previous update. So cool. From there, I think we should be good. Any other initiative updates that aren't in the agenda items? Cool. One thing that's not on the agenda, but I do want to make sure we talk about, Tracy Hines created a PR to move herself to emeritus. I do want to thank Tracy for the immense amount of time, effort, and passion that compassion that she's put in to the ComCom, to Node, to the OpenJS Foundation, to various aspects of the project's overall success. If y'all could go and, if ComCom members and others could go and review and approve that, and also, leaving a nice comment of would be nice. So, that's something that's currently open. I am going to be merging that. I realize that now I have a meeting immediately after this, but after that meeting, I will be merging it and also making the additional necessary changes to move Tracy out of the ComCom team on GitHub and also the email alias. Cool, so that's taken care of. Awesome, we can get into the agenda now. Cool, so first agenda item is Collaborator Summit Montreal. This is issue 416 in admin. So this is, I believe, just kind of along the lines of what Eva was suggesting earlier around, a link to kind of drive the Collaborator Summit and kind of get people's interest engaged. So I think this is more of a status kind of check-in rather than a actual to-do here. And it doesn't look like any of the people involved who tagged it are here, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Any comments, questions, thoughts, concerns?
I put the link for the CFP and the notes, just in case
Awesome.
anybody wants it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Awesome. Cool. Doesn't look like we have more agenda items than that. Or sorry, no, sorry, anything more on that agenda item. Next agenda item is the proposal for ComCom working meeting on off weeks. Joe, do you want to go ahead and talk about this?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. Excuse me. I've been feeling like we could make more progress if we had sort of open office hours and working meetings, perhaps on the off weeks of the regular ComCom meeting. You know, work through any things that we need to work on, issues and updates, and think about you know, membership and such, but also a place for mentoring, for, you know, to be a resource for current and potential new members. And also, you know, if there's any collaborative work or discussions that may need to happen around initiative work or anything like that. But generally speaking, kind of have an open office hours time slot where we can be available, but also get some progress done on other things. And one of the driving factors for me here is the mentoring and looking to get new members interested and onboarded, and to kind of, you know, just generally freshen up things around here. And so I actually commented about 20 minutes ago that maybe we could do the 1800 UTC time slot on off weeks for ComCom. So that would be Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time for me. It's, I think, you know, that's the week that they have there's the, I think, the redesign meeting at noon that is directly the same time slot as the ComCom meeting on off hours. So I'm proposing that we start at 2 hours after they start. So there'd be like an hour gap between those two meetings. So yeah, I just thought it'd be a good place to you know, get some work done and try and get new people interested and involved in the work that we do, and even the committee itself.
Sounds good. I have no problem with that time, and it looking at the calendar, there's not a conflict. I think you should start getting ready to spin it up for next week, if at all possible, and maybe inviting some folks. I'm happy to help invite some folks as well who may be interested.
That would be great. That would be really great. Yeah, I don't have everything like clearly kind of planned out in terms of agenda or particular things to work on, but I'll start working on that and plan for next week, and focus probably on some of the mentoring aspects and like the membership aspects. And, you know, if anybody wants to chat about this, particularly you, Tierney, about like membership and membership progression and membership overall, we can kind of flesh some of that out too. And I think like Sully's, you know, PR to be an observer is kind of an example as well, to work out some of those areas.
Cool. Awesome. Any comments, questions, thoughts, concerns on that one? Cool. With that, we can move on to the next agenda item, I believe. Sorry, I'm just, oh gosh, I've gotten so far away from the agenda. Too many tabs. Okay. Next one is preparing Initiative 507, preparing questions for the annual survey. Sela, do you want to go ahead and kind of talk about the current state of this and what's needed?
Yeah, so So yeah, one second, just organizing my thoughts here.
Yeah, no worries, no rush.
Okay, so I guess we had for the past 2 weeks just a pair of suggestions and a lot of feedback. And basically, I'm going to share the link in the chat. I can also paste it in the doc. But the suggestions led to a refinement to the questions, and we really landed on the set of questions that we are hoping to get into the survey. At this point, I think the purpose of these questions is just to gauge what an initiative can look like. And as we went through building those questions and trying to understand where the open source community in general is, there definitely is a lot to be wanting to to get to in the future. And a lot of communities are struggling with, let's call it, understanding how to go about inclusive, accessibility. And these definitions are definitely getting very, very, much needed attention, but also a lot of lack of clarity at this point. So with those questions, our hope is to understand how much, how far or how many people in the community are affected by accessibility aspects, and what their general view is about them. If they feel satisfied, if they feel they want to change things, or they just want things changed on their behalf. And it's not easy to do that in a long survey that is not focused. So we're really trying to be detailed, but not, let's say, for a lack of a better word, boring enough that people skip the questions. Yeah, so I shared the link of the final set of questions in the chat. There's also a link in that document for the working draft, which is really, just a copy I made to keep for record what other ideas were there. And at this point, Rachel asked that we give her a quick, draft of the questions, which I'm going to finish today, along with what we're trying to capture with each one. We touch upon those a bit, but I'm just going to clarify those out for her. It seems that if I do that today, we will actually meet the window to be part of the survey.
Could you repeat that last sentence?
Yeah.
Apologies.
So in Slack chat, she indicated if we can get to her the question along with what we're trying to really get at by the end of the month, then it would actually be good time frame to include them in the survey.
Cool.
Yeah.
In that case, what I would, if you want me to ping, because I don't think you're actually, are you a member? Okay, you are a member. So if you want to ping, oh yeah, you already did. In that case, sorry, very scattered thoughts.
Yeah. Very
apologies.
Familiar.
So you've already kind of taken the step of pinging the community committee. We now have context, or should have context theoretically, on what is happening with this. I'm personally okay with the questions. I think I left comments, but you seem to address that.
Actually, there is that one question that I would like to just reiterate again.
Yeah.
I know that a survey question about how people feel about when they're contributing elsewhere in the project, which is a domain that is under the control of the people who are leading these efforts, how we phrase a question about satisfaction from work other people are doing, it's really hardly fair for me to decide on how I want to phrase that question. You know, that feedback, you know, is not asking about something I'm doing, but rather something other people are. And so how they want to phrase that question is, you know, something I would like them to be comfortable with.
Yeah. So I don't know, from at least my perspective. So we're talking, just for context, in the Improving Odds survey questions document, we're talking about question number 6. This is linked from issue number 538 in the ComCom repo, just for posterity. So the specific question, yeah, thank you. I think is very valuable in the context of it's an agnostic question that people can answer, and people can get like context out of that, whether it's, you know, I don't think it's biased, I guess is what I'm trying to get at here. It doesn't seem like there's a level of bias in this, which is good. And I think that it's generic enough that that's okay. And it's okay to include that. My specific question, or at least the specific context I was asking about was employed by Node.js communities you participate or engage with. So I personally participate with the Node School in New York. I also, you know, attend various meetups in New York, and speak and attend at a lot of conferences around Node and JavaScript. I wasn't, the question I had here was more of a clarifying one of Node.js communities. Is that, are you referring to the project or the ecosystem and its various communities?
Yeah, so let me zoom in a bit so it's legible. Yeah, so how would we phrase this so that it's clear to the reader? Can I get everybody's take? Like, I know it's watery. I have a knack for being very watery when I try to speak. So
if you're talking about the Node project, that's how I would phrase it. I edited in, or added in, suggested how I would phrase it.
Okay. Yeah.
You could, yeah, if that works, that's great. You could also
works.
just do Node.js project.
That works. Yeah. And as soon as I can take away the coloring in the background, which I know I've used one of the buttons to put there, it will be more legible, hopefully, for everyone. But if that was how you wanted to go about this, from, you know, as a suggestion, I'm definitely, you know, I definitely recognize that it was not very clear. That,
okay.
You know, so thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So given that context, I'm relatively okay with this. And I think that, you know, the community committee has been given ample ability to object to this, if this is something that they would like to object to. So perhaps just for good measure, you could ping one more time and then say, you know, we're going to be sharing this. Do you mean end of November or end of October?
It was yesterday and it said end of the month.
So I'm guessing today,
I
probably.
think, yeah, I think
yeah.
it is.
In that case, I would just comment in that and say, hey, we're going to be sending these to XYZ people to be included in the survey. You know, and then that may spark more discussion. I doubt it. But yeah, you're more than welcome to send those over. And if we need to, we can adjust, but I don't think we will. So.
Okay, all right. Well, just a side note, we did actually connect with certain folks in GitHub, and I'm just mentioning that because, you know, it's important to know that many accessibility aspects are about tools. And hopefully, you know, we can have the right, you know, position, but also be able to rely on the tools that we need to use to, affect inclusivity in a way that is inclusive to everyone, not just those who need accessibility aspects, and not just those who don't think they can happen without getting in the way. So so this is going to be a long-term initiative, and it's going to take open source and people in the tools that we use. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. So I think we can move.
I'm going to stop sharing here, but I
Yeah.
don't see the floating bar. It's gone.
Yes. Oh no.
There we go.
There you go. Cool. So let's get back here. The next agenda item. Next agenda item is community committee and OKRs. Hold on, I'm just going to document what we talked about there because we did not have notes there. So I'm just going to do that real quick. I'm just writing up the minutes here real quick. I'm going to share the and now I'm the one who has the clicky keyboard. Cool. I was totally, I was totally waiting for that to eventually come up.
We just have to give you a hard time, Tierney.
Yeah. Cool. So the next agenda item is, well, the next agenda item is community committee and OKRs. So this is something I've been working on for a bit now. Basically, TLDR is I recently was able to join the Electron Collaborator Summit in New York, and had the opportunity to kind of learn about how they do things. They set OKRs, which is very interesting for open source projects, but I also think how they approached it is really valuable. There's this kind of defined framework for setting kind of measurement of success, and being able to tweak when things aren't going as planned, and kind of course correct. This is something we've always kind of tried to aim at in ComCom, but never really had a codified way to do it. So it ended up being kind of knowledge of those who are already in, and very hard to attain for those who are joining or not already in this, having this context. So, I think that this is a very valuable avenue for us to be able to set and define kind of goals, both for the ComCom as a whole, and make sure we're achieving what we're trying to achieve or want to achieve or want to set out to achieve, in addition to initiatives. So this, in the case of, hey, I want to spin up an initiative, being able to, at the outset, set up your goals and say, this is what we want to do, is a good avenue to make sure that there's like value and not value, but ability to execute in a path forward, right? For new initiatives. So that's kind of my goal here, and also for existing initiatives, like mentorship has pretty clearly defined goals, and so their OKRs would be relatively easy, or relatively straightforward, I should say. But it's good for them to have that so they can know, and so contributors to that project can understand what the goals of the project are. So yeah, that's kind of an example. This is something I'd like to see us try to implement, if there's no objections that we can't overcome. I think that this would be a valuable thing for everyone, especially because we don't have the kind of element of we're writing code and there's very obvious progress versus less obvious progress. I've had people ask me, what is the ComCom doing? Is it successful? And there's not, outside of commits randomly, there's nothing I can explicitly point to easily and have them go find themselves that enables them to find that out rather than me having to kind of go into massive detail about what we do and how we find success and how we define success. So, I think this is an overall benefit in many ways and something I'd like to see us do. My hope here is that we can have a session at the Collaborator Summit to actually sit down for maybe like, I don't think we can do OKRs in an hour. So it might need to be 2 or maybe 2 and then a third. But setting at least OKRs for ComCom and enabling initiatives to set their own or help us working, as initiative members, setting up, defining those and setting those up and PRing them. So that's a hope of mine that we can kind of get this ball rolling for at the Collaborator Summit. I also do think that this context could be valuable for something like the initiative that Sala is working on. Oh, sorry, there's someone who needs to, they left.
Yeah, I just got them.
Joined, cool.
No, I got them. Yeah.
Awesome. I think that it would be extremely valuable for us to be able to have that kind of end up there and move forward there. So yeah, and for context, this is issue 547 on the ComCom repo. So yeah, if you have thoughts on this, positive, negative, I tried to get feedback from some folks beforehand just to make sure I was kind of not moving away from what I would expect or what others would expect from the project and from something like this. But yeah, if you have feedback, I'm very, very open to it and would love to kind of be able to work on this together. So, any thoughts, comments, questions, criticisms, concerns?
Just submit it if you haven't already.
Okay, yeah, I will do that today probably.
We're happy to accommodate a longer session too.
Cool.
That's the kind of the nice thing about the Collaborative Summit is that we have a lot more freedom of how we do it. So
Yeah.
just make sure to put in it how much time you want so that when I'm making up the agenda, I know how to slot you in.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. I will probably do 2 hours. Just maybe a break. I don't know if we should do all together or kind of have a two separate sessions.
I would say 2 separate sessions. I feel like,
Yeah,
I don't know about other folks, but for me, much more than an hour of sitting down and focusing without some sort of like get up and walk around is my brain starts to implode a little bit.
yeah. I also think that it will allow us, if someone can't make one session, they can come to the other.
That sounds perfect.
So, I will definitely do that then. Cool.
Hi, Tony. I would just say, sorry, I joined a bit late. I would just say I like the idea. Would be it would be really nice to discuss at Collaborative Summit with the team and everyone. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just gonna take minutes real quick. Cool. Awesome. Okay. Cool. So the next, any other additional kind of requests, comments, thoughts on that?
I support it.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. In that case, we can move on then. So the next, I think the next 3 agenda items are like relatively just updates on things that are like ongoing. So let's see, the required updates to the charter. I went through and updated all of the comments there, addressed everything that was kind of commented on or responded to. We mostly have LGTMs and +1s. I think we are at a place where this can be merged. Please don't merge it. But this is at a place where I have created the issue in the OpenJS CPC, OpenJS Foundation CPC issue or repo. And it doesn't look like there's any comments there, but this should be theoretically an agenda item for the next meeting. I don't know, Joe, do I need to add a label to this? Cross project council agenda, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So I have added that to the agenda. So given that, we should hopefully see this merged at the beginning of next week. I'm excited for this to be completed. Charter updates have always been challenging for me. So yeah, that's what I'm excited for it to kind of finish. This will also allow us to make a few additional kind of updates that are needed. The charter reflects a bunch of things that we don't do. And if, whether we want to begin doing those or whether we want to kind of strike those and make it reflect more of what we currently do is up to us. But I would like to kind of move in one direction or the other, just so that it reflects the state of the ComCom. So yeah, that's a update on that. We should be seeing this merge soonish, so I'm happy about that. Any comments, questions, thoughts, concerns? That one? Cool. With that, we can move on. Let's see here. Next agenda item is Node.js social media collaboration. So I had a meeting with Rachel. Our meeting went well. We kind of moved things forward. There's some additional things that were unexpected to me that came through, but I will be reaching out to folks about that shortly here. Perhaps it's worth having a quick private session if we have time, still keeping in the time frame. But this should be moving forward relatively soonish. I just need to spend some time with Rachel and sit down and actually get through the editing of the blog post to update this and ship it, given that additional context. And I'm sorry for being vague. I just don't want to overcommit to things before anything has been discussed broadly. And I don't want to prematurely discuss it broadly. So yeah, that's coming up. Things are good there. Any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns on that one? Cool. Sweet. The next agenda item is, hold on, I want to make sure I'm getting the minutes in here. Cool, and then so that minutes should be updated. And then Node.js collection next steps. Waleed, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can talk about it. Sorry, I was busy in last week. So I was traveling, couldn't catch up with the PR. I know, Tony, you submitted review on the PR, and I wanted to get in touch with Rachel first to see what changes we want to do in the process, and then like submit, make the changes after the review. But she was also busy with the foundation things and more in some conferences also. So hopefully this week or the next week I'll set up a meeting with Rachel, and then we'll review finally and make the changes like all the necessary changes in the PR and merge it. So probably by the next meeting we'll have there will be some progress on it.
Awesome. Sounds good.
On the other hand, I also submitted a session on the same topic, Node.js collection and social media for the summit. It's issue 198 in the summit repo. If anybody is interested, you can join. We had the same session in the last summit also.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Any comments, questions, thoughts, concerns on that one? Cool. And with that, I think we can probably wrap it up. I'm going to just move us into a quick private session, and then we can wrap things up from there. So thanks everyone for joining us on the live stream. I'm going to stop that now, but thank you for joining, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks.